Oyuna başla, ayarlar, credits, achievements, çıkıver. Güzel Türkçe. Çıkıver yazmış ya. Haydi bakalım. Bakalım bu manyaklık neymiş efendim. Sevgili YouTube, belki bu size de gelir. Belki sizin de kafanız karışır. Kim bilir. Bu oyunda konu ne yapıyoruz? Hiçbir fikrim yok. Bakacağız. Ben de onu merak ediyorum. The end is never. Okay. Heh, şöyle düş 8'lere falan ya. Gözünü seveyim, beni germe burada. 1 FPS mi? FPS'im nasıl gözüküyor? Ben Steam'den oynamıyorum ki oyunu. Epic'ten oynuyorum. Neyse. Ne yüklüyorsun oğlum? ...16. Kendi 8'imi sökeceğim, 16 takacağım.
This is the story of a man named Stanley. Stanley worked for a company in a big building where he was employee number 427. Employee number 427's job was simple. He sat at his desk in room 427 and he pushed buttons on a keyboard.
Okay.
Orders came to him through a monitor on his desk, telling him what buttons to push, how long to push them, and in what order. This is what employee 427 did every day of every month of every year. And although others might have considered it soul-winning, Stanley relished every moment that the orders came in, as though he had been made exactly for this job. And Stanley was happy.
Mutluymuşuz.
And then one day, something very peculiar happened. Something that would forever change Stanley. Something he would never quite forget. He had been at his desk for nearly an hour when he realized that not one single order had arrived on the monitor for him to follow. No one had showed up to give him instructions, call a meeting, or even say hi. Never in all his years at the company had this happened, this complete isolation. Something was very clearly wrong. Shocked, frozen solid, Stanley found himself unable to move for the longest time. But as he came to his wits and regained his senses, he got up from his desk and stepped out of his office.
Oh, bir saniye. Video. Gelişmiş. Motion blur. Multicore rendering'i bir kapat kanka. Multicore rendering'e gerek yok. Double buffered. Neyse VSync açacağız. Allah'ım delireceğim. Tamam mıyız? Aleyküm selam Fener'in, hoş geldin. Haydi.
But Stanley simply couldn't handle the pressure. What if he had to make a decision? What if a crucial outcome fell under his responsibility? He had never been trained for that. No. This couldn't go any way except badly. The thing to do now, Stanley thought to himself, is to wait. Nothing will hurt me. Nothing will break me. In here I can be happy forever. I will be happy. Stanley waited. Hours passed, then days. Had years gone by? He no longer had the ability to tell. But the one thing he knew for sure, beyond any doubt, was that if he waited long enough, the answers would come. Eventually, someday, they would arrive. Soon, very soon now, this will end. He will be spoken to. He will be told what to do. Now it's just a little bit closer. Now it's even closer. Here it comes.
Aha, kapı açıldı. Gençler, yok musunuz burada? Ne oluyor şu an? Ben memur 427. Nane yemedik peki? Artırılabilir mi? Artıralım. Dınk. Dınk. Bir tık artırdık efendim. Ya niye sens ayarı yok? Allah aşkına ya. Varmış. Sens ayarı varmış arkadaşlar. Öyle bakmadan yorum yapmayalım lütfen. Evet. Bak önce bakın ondan
All
sonra
of
yorum.
his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
Gitmiyorum lan.
No
Toplandı.
matter how hard Stanley looked, he couldn't find a trace of his co-workers.
No no no no no. Biraz daha kısmam lazım onu. Bunların kapıları da kapalı. Neyse gidelim bakalım. Biz nerede çalışıyoruz? Aha o ne? Zıplama yok oyunda, onu öğrendim. Awaiting input. Input girelim. Toynaklarımla yazmayayım mı? Yazmayayım. ...417 memur. Memurum. Ne yaptın? Memur yok. Allah. Amirim. Neredesiniz? Ali.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Soldaki kapıdan mı girdi? Ben sağdan gideceğim.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Enteresan. Saat doğru mu? Değil. Metroda falan doğru oluyordu ya. Ondan hep tüm oyunlardaki saatlere bakarım. Merhabalar, selametle.
Yes, truly a room worth admiring. It had really been worth the detour after all, just to spend a few moments here in this immaculate, beautifully constructed room.
Allah güzel
Stanley
görünüyor bu
simply
arada.
stood here, drinking it all in.
Drink it mi? Ben bir şey içmeyeceğim. İçmiyorum lan.
Yes, really worth it being here in the room. A room so utterly captivating that even though all your co-workers have mysteriously vanished,
Gıcık mı lan bu
you
böyle?
sit looking at these chairs and some paintings. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the first open door on his left.
Çok acayip. Bu yani gerçekten. Enteresan bu arada. Soldaki kapıdan mı girdi dedi? Left dedi. Evet soldaki kapıdan girdi dedi. Ben oradan girmeyeceğim. Girmeyeceğim. Bana ne? Aa mimar mı
Stanley
var?
was so bad at following directions, it's incredible he wasn't fired years ago.
Yönle. Sinirlendim. Proje var burada. Ne projesi bu? Aa leblebi yazmışlar. Bu masada çalışılmaz, belin ağrır. Bak aynen şöyle kaldıracaksın. Bak burada kaldırma şeysi var. Aptal olmayın. A4'te de çizim yapamazsınız bu arada. Neyse. Evet. Her kapı kapanma. Oo mama. Ben zaten hani zıplama tuşu yok balım. Ben nereye gideceğim? Buraya mı gideceğim?
Look, Stanley, I think perhaps we've gotten off on the wrong foot here. I'm not your enemy, really, I'm not. I realize that investing your trust in someone else can be difficult, but the fact is that the story has been about nothing but you all this time.
Ama ben sana güvenemiyorum.
Stanley. someone you've forgotten about. Please, stop trying to make every decision by yourself. Now, I'm not asking for me, I'm asking for her.
Asking for her mü? Karı mı var? Nerede? Karım var benim.
Your chance to redeem yourself, to put your work aside, to let her back into your life. She's been waiting.
Bence bizi kandırıyor. Bence bizi kandırıyor. Niye bilmiyorum. Çok güvensiz hissediyorum kendimi şu anda. Çok güvensiz hissediyorum. Fragile. Bu fragile'ı unutmayın bu arada. Fragile'ı pardon. Çok karanlık. Ama çok karanlık.
That's her, Stanley. You need to be the one to do this, to reach out to her. If you can truly place your faith in another, then pick up the phone.
Açacağım, tamam. Açamıyorum.
Stanley, is that you? Hold on, sweetie. Sorry to keep you waiting. I'm just pulling the bread out of the oven. All right. Okay, there we go. All right, now, I want you to come in and tell me all about your day.
Gotcha. Oh, come on. Did you actually think you had a loving wife who'd want to commit their life to you? I'm trying to make a point here, Stanley. I'm trying to get you to see something. Come inside. Let me show you what's really going on here. Sorry, but you're in my story now.
Hayda. Duvar koydu oğlum. Ne? Ben gideceğim. Ya sal beni. İstemiyorum. Aa, karı gitti. Hanım ne yaptın? Betin benzin atmış.
This is a very sad story about the death of a man named Stanley.
Ölü mü? Ben öldüm mü? Sıfıra mı basayım? Basmıyorum. Hanım ne oldun? Bir kireç gibisin ya.
Stanley is quite a boring fellow. He has a job that demands nothing of him, and every button that he pushes is a reminder of the inconsequential nature of his existence.
Basmıyorum lan. 3 2 Hadi squat yapalım. Basmayacağım 8'e. Aa, gidemiyorum. Nasıl bozacağım bunu? 2 4. 2 çarpı 4. Oynamıyor. Öyle bozuyorlar değil mi?
Look at him there, pushing buttons, doing exactly what he's told to do. Now he's pushing a button. Now he's eating lunch. Now he's going home.
Çok sinir oldum şu an.
He's coming back to work.
İnanılmaz
One might
sinir
even
oldum
feel
şu an.
sorry for him, except that he's chosen this life.
Basmıyorum lan, basmayacağım. Bana ne? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7, 8, 9, 0, tire, artı, ü, yumuşak G, P, O, I, U, Y, T, R, E, W, Q, A, S, D. Basmayacağım. Basmak istemiyorum. Basınca laf sokuyor ya. İstemiyorum basmak. Götlük yapıyor. Stanley basmayacak. Stanley sevmedi.
But in his mind, he can go on fantastic adventures. From behind his desk,
Bir
Stanley
Twitchers,
dreamed
hoş
of
geldin
wild
aramıza.
expeditions
Teşekkür ederim
into the
takibiniz için.
unknown, fantastic discoveries of new lands. It was wonderful, and each day that he returned to work was a reminder that none of it would ever happen to him. And so he began to fantasize about his own job. First, he imagined that one day while at work, he stepped up from his desk to realize that all of his co-workers, his boss, everyone in the building had suddenly vanished off the face of the earth. The thought excited him terribly.
Çocuklar nerede?
So he went further. He imagined that he came to two open doors and that he could go through either. At last, choice. It barely even mattered what lay behind each door. The mere thought that his decisions would mean something was almost too wonderful to behold.
Allah Allah. Merhabalar, hoş geldin bu arada. Teşekkür ettim desteğin için. Kapılar nerede?
As he wandered through this fantasy world, he began to fill it with many possible paths and destinations. Down one path lay an enormous round room with monitors and mind controls. And down another was a yellow line that weaved in many directions. And down another was a game with a baby. And he called it the Stanley Parable.
Allah, çizgilerin renklerini okumadım. Ah be. 200 olduk mu? Vay be. 200 olduk be. Helal. Eyvallah. One Twitchers mı diyeyim? Twitchers diyeyim ben sana. Çocuklara masal mı anlatayım? Ama ona bas buna bas diyorsun. Bak şimdi yani kafa atacağım ben sana.
It was such a wonderful fantasy, and so in his head he relived it again, and then again, and again, over and over, wishing beyond hope that it would never end, that he might always feel this free. Surely there's an answer down some new path, mustn't there be? Perhaps if he played just one more time.
Bana izin vermiyor şu anda. Ben yani şu an inanılmaz derece tutsak gibi hissediyorum kendimi. Tribe girdim oyun yüzünden.
But there is no answer. How could there possibly be?
Aba.
In reality, all he's doing is pushing the same buttons he always has. Nothing has changed. The longer he spends here, the more invested he gets, the more he forgets which life is the real one.
Uyuyamayacağım da tabii.
And I'm trying to tell him this, that in this world he can never be anything but an observer, that as long as he remains here, he's slowly killing himself. But he won't listen to me. He won't stop. Here, watch this. Stanley, the next time the screen asks you to push a button, do not do it.
Tamam lan, yapmayacağım. Yapmayacağım lan. Yapmayacağım, hadi bakalım. Yapmıyorum. Ama bu sefer ters psikoloji mi uyguluyor acaba? Aslında bastırmamak mı istiyor? Kafam çok karışık şu an ya. İnşallah dostlar. Hoş geldin. 200 olduk ya bugün. Twitchers aramıza katıldı. 200. takipçimiz oldu efendim. Çok şükür. Basmayacağım. Ha şöyle yola gel falan diyecek şimdi. Basmayacağım. Basmayacağım. Neredesin? Nerede olduğunu da bilmiyorum ki. Basmayacağım. Nope. Acaba beklemem gereken belli bir süre mi var? Among Us. Aynen. Among Us falan oynayabiliriz aslında bir ara. Basmıyor. 30 saniye daha basmayacağım buradaki saate göre. Basmıyorum. Akıl oyunu mu oynuyor merak ediyorum çünkü. Hani basmama şansım olmalı yani bence. 6'ya bassam. Bu 6'ya bassam. E'ye basayım. İlla G'ye mi basacağım yani? Ben basıyorum chat. Salmıyor. Hadi bas.
You see? Can he just not hear me? How can I tell him in a way that he'll understand that every second he remains here
Ulan
he's
burnunu
electing to
kırdım.
kill himself? How can I
Basmayınca
get him to see
ilerlemiyor.
what I see? How can I make him look at himself?
Sorgulamak için E'ye basıyorum.
I suppose I can't, not in the way I want him to. But I don't make the rules. I simply play to my intended purpose, the same as Stanley. We're not so different, I suppose. I'll try once more to convey all this to him. I'm compelled to. I must.
Aç kapıyı
Perhaps,
şimdi.
well, maybe this time he'll see. Maybe this time. And I tried again.
Lütfen
Stanley
ölme.
pushed a button.
Ne?
And I tried again. And Stanley pushed a button. And I tried.
Aa öldüm. Sıkıntıdan öldürdü beni herif. Beni bayılttı sıkıntıdan. Yeniden doğdum lan. Ölmedim bıçız. Aha farklı bir yerdeyim. Kalite seçenekleri gene mi var? Ne güzel. Keşke 4000 bitreyi açsaymışım.
All of his co-workers were gone. What could it mean? Stanley decided to go to the meeting room. Perhaps he had simply missed a memo.
En başa sarıyoruz öyle mi? Ha. Yani en başa sarmıyoruz da. Stanley... Ha şurada yol varmış. Allah kahretmesin ya. Geldim.
When Stanley came to a set of 2 open doors, he entered the door on his left.
Gireyim mi sola tekrar sağa mı gideyim yoksa? Ne diyorsunuz? Ben kıl oldum bu herife ya. Bence o dediğini yapmamızı bekliyor bu sefer de. Yapmayacağım.
This was not the correct way to the meeting room, and Stanley knew it perfectly well. Perhaps he wanted to stop by the employee lounge first, just to admire it.
Aa, aynı şey oluyor.
Yes, this room. But eager to get back to business, Stanley took the
Aynı
first
şey
open
oluyormuş.
door on his left.
Tamam bu sefer buna girelim.
And so he detoured through the maintenance section, walked straight ahead to the opposite door, and got back on track.
Çok kararsızım şu an. Tamam ya gidiyorum. Hala dönebilirim. Hala her şey bitmiş değil. Kapı kapanmadı.
Yet there was not a single person here either. Feeling a wave of disbelief, Stanley decided to go up to his boss's office, hoping he might find an answer there.
Ya ben hani emir verilmesinden nefret ederim. Çok triggerlıyor beni oyun şu anda. Yemin ediyorum ya kafayı yiyeceğim, sinirleniyorum çünkü. Saçma sapan. Manyak oldum. Allah.
Coming to a staircase, Stanley walked upstairs to his boss's office.
No he's not. Ne yapıyorsunuz lan? Ben buraya gideceğim.
But Stanley just couldn't do it. He considered the possibility of facing his boss. Admitting he had left his post during work hours, he might be fired for that. And in such a competitive economy, why had he taken that risk? All because he believed everyone had vanished? His boss would think he was crazy. And then something occurred to Stanley. Maybe, he thought to himself, maybe I am crazy. All of my co-workers blinking mysteriously out of existence in a single moment for no reason at all? None of it made any logical sense. And as Stanley pondered this, he began to make other strange observations. For example, why couldn't he see his feet when he looked down? Why did doors close automatically behind him wherever he went? And for that matter, these rooms were starting to look pretty familiar. Were they simply repeating? No, Stanley said to himself, this is all too strange. This can't be real. And at last, he came to the conclusion that had been on the tip of his tongue. He just hadn't found the words for it. "I'm dreaming!" he yelled. "This is all a dream." Oh, what a relief Stanley felt to have finally found an answer, an explanation. His co-workers weren't actually gone. He wasn't going to lose his job. He wasn't crazy after all. And he thought to himself, I suppose I'll wake up soon. I'll have to go back to my boring real-life job pushing buttons. I may as well enjoy this while I'm still lucid. So, he imagined himself flying and began to gently float above the ground. Then he imagined himself soaring through space on a magical starfield, and it too appeared. It was so much fun, and Stanley marveled that he had still not woken up. How was he remaining so lucid? And then perhaps the strangest question of them all entered Stanley's head. One he was amazed he hadn't asked himself sooner. Why is there a voice in my head dictating everything that I'm doing and thinking? Now the voice was describing itself being considered by Stanley, who found it particularly strange. I'm dreaming about a voice describing me, thinking about how it's describing my thoughts, he thought. And while he thought it all very odd and wondered if this voice spoke to all people in their dreams, the truth was that, of course, this was not a dream. How could it be? Was Stanley simply deceiving himself, believing that if he's asleep, he doesn't have to take responsibility for himself? Stanley is as awake right now as he's ever been in his life. Now, hearing the voice speak these words was quite a shock to Stanley. After all, he knew for certain, beyond a doubt, that this was in fact a dream. Did the voice not see him float and make the magical stars just a moment ago? How else would the voice explain all that? This voice was a part of himself too. Surely, if he could just... He would prove that he was in control, that this was a dream. So he closed his eyes gently, and he invited himself to wake up. He felt the cool weight of the blanket on his skin, the press of the mattress on his back, the fresh air of a world outside this one. Let me wake up, he thought to himself. I'm through with this dream. I wish it to be over. Let me go back to my job. Let me continue pushing the buttons. Please, it's all I want. I want my apartment and my wife and my job. All I want is my life exactly the way it's always been. My life is normal. I am normal.
I'm not normal.
Everything will be fine. I am okay.
I'm not okay. Hayda. Rahatlattı mı?
Stanley began screaming. Please, someone wake me up. My name is Stanley. I have a boss. I have an office. I am real. Please, just someone tell me I am real. I must be real. I must be. Can anyone hear my voice? Who am I? Who am I? And everything went black.
Ya sal beni adam.
This is the story of a woman named Mariella.
Mariella mı?
Mariella woke up on a day like any other. She arose, got dressed, gathered her belongings, and walked to her place of work. But on this particular day, her walk was interrupted by the body of a man who had stumbled through town talking and screaming to himself, and then collapsed dead on the sidewalk. And although she would soon turn to go call for an ambulance, for just a few brief moments, she considered the strange man.
Öldük.
He was obviously crazy. This much she knew. Everyone knows what crazy people look like. And in that moment, she thought to herself how lucky she was to be normal. I am sane. I am in control of my mind. I know what is real and what isn't. It was comforting to think this, and in a certain way, seeing this man made her feel better. But then she remembered the meeting she had scheduled for that day. The very important people whose impressions of her would affect her career, and by extension, the rest of her life. She had no time for this, so it was only a moment that she stood there, staring down at the body. And then she turned and ran.
Aramadı ambulansı. Yellos. Bitti mi?